There's a company that has a file on pretty much every single one of us. And it just dropped a financial report that, on the surface, looks absolutely perfect. But hiding behind those great numbers, well, there's a serious warning sign. Let's dig in.
We all know the FICO score, right? That three-digit number that can open doors or slam them shut. It's a huge part of our financial lives. But today, we're going to flip the script. We're not looking at your score. We're looking at how FICO, the company, scored in its latest earnings report.
And honestly, on the surface, they absolutely crushed it. FICO reported first quarter revenue of $512 million, just handily beating what everyone expected. And their earnings per share, that came in at $7.33, also way above what analysts were predicting. I mean, by any measure, a fantastic quarter. But this is where our story really gets interesting. Because that great report card is hiding a massive challenge that's brewing in FICO's most important market. We're talking about a challenge that could fundamentally change its entire business. Okay, so to really understand this challenge, we've got to pop the hood. FICO is essentially two different businesses working together. So let's break down where that $512 million actually came from. Now, what's really telling here is the split. Nearly 60% of FICO's revenue, a whopping $305 million, comes from its famous scores business. The other 40%, about $207 million, comes from its software and analytics platforms. So yeah, the classic FICO score is definitely still king. And this right here just perfectly illustrates the dynamic. The scores business is on fire, growing an incredible 29% year over year, driven mostly by the mortgage market. The software business, while it's solid, only grew at 2%. So the crucial point is this. FICO's health is overwhelmingly tied to the success of its scores segment. And that brings us to the heart of the matter, the mortgage industry. It's the engine behind FICO's incredible growth, but it's also where the company is facing a huge, complex battle for its future. So you're probably asking, okay, if the mortgage business is driving that crazy 29% growth, what could possibly be the problem? Well, the problem is that the very rules of the mortgage game are being rewritten as we speak. And hey, don't just take it from me. FICO's own CEO, Will Lansing, points out how difficult this all is. Regulators are looking at using new credit scores for mortgages. But as he says, there are tremendous challenges in making that work without creating chances for people to game the system, finding loopholes to artificially boost their scores. A key piece of this puzzle is the difference between FICO and its main competitor, VantageScore. According to FICO's own research, for the exact same person, the two scores can be more than 20 points different almost a third of the time. That's because they're built differently. They weigh factors differently, so you can't just swap one for the other without some really big consequences. So adopting a new score isn't just a simple switch. It's this whole cascade of complicated steps. You need regulatory approval. Then you have to integrate the new score across the entire mortgage ecosystem. Then develop completely new pricing models for loans. And all the while, solve that huge risk of gaming the system that the CEO mentioned. It's a massive, massive undertaking. Now, facing this really complicated future, FICO is not just standing still. They are making a series of pretty smart strategic moves to defend their turf and innovate for what's coming next. First up is their own next-generation product, the FICO Score 10T. It's designed to be much more accurate at predicting risk. But here's the clever part. It's built on a similar architecture to the scores everyone already uses and trusts. The idea is to give the industry an easy upgrade path without forcing them to rebuild their entire system from the ground up. Next, they're changing how they sell their scores. With a new direct licensing program, they're essentially cutting out some of the middlemen. The goal here is to make pricing more transparent and to make it cheaper and easier for lenders to work with them, which of course strengthens their hold on the market. And they're also looking beyond just traditional credit data. They've partnered up with Plaid for the Ultra FICO score, which will pull in real-time cash flow information directly from consumer bank accounts. This is a major step toward a much more holistic, complete view of credit risk. So let's bring all this together. We've got a company that's posting fantastic numbers, but at the same time, it's fighting a really high-stakes battle in its most important market. The irony here is just so powerful. FICO's blowout quarter was fueled by the exact part of its business that is facing the most uncertainty. The mortgage industry gave them a huge win today, but it's also the source of their biggest long-term test.
And that leaves us with a big question. FICO is the undisputed champion of today's credit scoring world, no doubt about it. But as the rulebook for that world is being rewritten, is their strategy enough to keep them on top? Well, that's the billion-dollar question we'll all be watching.